Good day everyone and welcome back to QuestForAlpha. Today is November 30th. What I would like to do, like any other Sunday previously, is to give you a little bit of a recap of the performance of some of the stocks that were on our watch list and to show how well they performed, even though it was a short week last week because of the Thanksgiving holidays. So I'd like to show what actually mattered, and most importantly, what's brewing up and setting up for the next week. With that, let's get right into it. The first one on the list is Dover. Dover was somewhere over here in the middle of our range. It actually started to go a lot higher, getting pretty close to where my break-even point is. Now, Dover is one of those stocks, if you remember from the last video, is I entered by mistake. I entered because I was anticipating that this candle right over here would close above this range. That did not happen in the last few hours of the trading session. It actually pulled back, but I decided to remain in it. So for the time being, this is at break even. Waters Corporation is the next one on the list. And if you can take a look at the setup here, just want to clean up some of these things. This was our setup. You can already see that if you're using a 2-to-1 trade management approach, then this is already a winner. So this was a good play following the strategy. Vertex is another one that I was involved with. This one is also pretty close to break even. There was a little bit of a range last week, so very close to break even. Hopefully in the coming week and the following weeks, in the month of December, this will start heading towards our target for take profit. Merck is a stock that performed extremely well. You can see it really already reached a 2-to-1. A lot more than that actually. But what we did here is we placed the stop loss below this very strong candle, as opposed to having it all the way below here, or maybe somewhere below the range that we've been doing it. Regardless of which decision you wanted to make to manage the trade, it still was able to reach at least 2-to-1 risk to reward, which was an excellent play following the strategy. Regeneron was another stock that performed extremely well. That one already reached the 2-to-1 target. So few wins following the strategy overall for the month of November. Some of the previous trades that we've looked at were Equinox and OMC. These were losses. So you can see that the price ended up dropping way below the stop loss. This is actually where we exited, and similarly to that, OMC was another loss, and that one we exited somewhere over here. So also below the initial stop loss. If you want to understand why I let the stock trade all the way down here before I close the position, I would recommend looking at some of the previous weekly update videos that I have that I post every Sunday. All right, so something pretty exciting. I did a pretty good scan of setups, and I did find few interesting ones that are setting up and perhaps there are going to be some that I'm going to enter this week, perhaps even Monday. So this is ARC Capital. You can see that on the monthly time frame we reached the demand zone. The price came to the demand zone. Why? Because we have very strong consecutive candles, bullish candles that are taking our previous peak. When we go to the daily time frame, you can see that we touched the zone. We actually took some previous lows over here, which is very important, which means it took the liquidity out. Then we had a little bit of consolidation here, and we have the 10 EMA crossing above the 200 EMA. With that, I'm not ready to enter this trade. I was going to had this candle closed above this previous high. That happened or happens in the next few days, then I'll consider entering this trade. ELS is another one that's setting up over here. This, you can see that there was a very strong candle, I believe. So this was a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The candle did come above this previous high, but then at the end of the day it closed lower. So as opposed to Dover, where I made a mistake and I entered a little too early, here I did not decide to get in. So if the price in the following week comes and closes above this previous high, then I will consider entering. So that's another setup that's forming. On the monthly time frame, you can take a look at that. This was a good demand zone. Ingersoll Rand is another one that I believe we looked at. So this was the strong demand zone. That's where the price bounced, and now it has been setting up. It's not ready yet. I think it may take maybe a few more weeks before it can go a little higher, but because we do want the price to consolidate here, so I doubt it's going to happen this coming week, but perhaps the following week. GPC is a pretty good play. You can see that the 10 EMA is trying to get above the 200 and the 100 EMA. There's really no consolidation yet. If there is some consolidation and the price goes above it, then I will consider getting in. Let's take a look at on the monthly time chart. Yeah, this was a pretty good demand zone. You can see very strong consecutive candles. The trend is still in an uptrend. Why? Because you have the 10 above the 100 and the 100 above the 200 EMAs. Now, going forward, I have few of these setups. I am not going to go through and taking a look at the monthly time chart. In the interest of time, I want to keep this video pretty short. You can see there's plenty of stocks that I want to go through. You can pause the video and you can take a look at all of the ones that I'm considering as short-term setups. So let's go to Visa. Visa is something that perhaps if it consolidates over here and goes above the 100 EMA is something I will consider. You can see that was a monthly demand zone that I had established, and the price actually did reach that point. Coinbase is one that's setting up here. Perhaps not this week, but maybe 2 weeks from now, we would expect something like this. And when that happens, we can consider entering. TDG is a perfect, close to perfect setup. I'd like to say there's nothing really perfect, but you can already see that it's a really nice consolidation. If in the next few days we do see the price closes above here, then that will be a good indication to enter somewhere there and perhaps depending on your trade management, is to aim to a simple 2-to-1. So this is a really nice one. APO, we can see that there was some sort of consolidation. The price never really went above it. There's some sort of consolidation over here. So if we do see maybe few more days here, then the price comes above these previous highs and closes, that could be a good play. So this will be an interesting one to review next week. RSG, it is consolidating here, but this consolidation is too far from the 200 EMA. What I would like to see is what I always say, is a consolidation to happen somewhere between the 100 and 200 EMA, or maybe above the 200 EMA, and then depart from that area. So right now, no setup, but it's something that I'm monitoring. AZO, AutoZone. This is actually a very good one, and this is definitely something I will be most probably entering tomorrow. I'm going to take a look at for the first half an hour of the day. If the price spikes very high and it's out of reach, I may not consider entering. If the price drops significantly with a gap, I may consider, because it's going to be a lot more attractive, because my risk would be limited. This is at a great place. Why it's at a great place? Because this is that consolidation. There was a strong candle, and then the following candle actually confirmed the price wanted to be above the consolidation, and it's already on a monthly demand zone. Now, this only has two very strong candles. It's operating at the very high end of the market. So for me, this is a good enough demand zone to try to take the price a little higher. Okay, so definitely marking it. Corteva, CTVA. This is another one that I'm considering entering tomorrow, Monday. You can see this was a good consolidation in the good area. The price did depart and closed above it. So this is, we'll take a look at for the first 30 minutes tomorrow how the price behaves, and consider entering this and moving it up to the active trades section of this watch list. Excuse me. Okay, what do we have here? We have RMD. RMD is setting up here. Not yet a very good consolidation. Perhaps if we have something like this, maybe 4 more candles, and then the price departs and closes above this, which is the 100 EMA, then I'm going to consider getting in. CTSH. All right, so this one was a pretty good setup. Obviously, I only identified this potential setup yesterday, so I'm already late to enter this trade. However, if price does decide to come back here, then I'm going to set an alert level and consider entering. This would be a good play. This is also, I believe I checked the demand zone. It's a pretty good one. So there is a demand zone over here. However, actually this is a tricky one. So this is actually good. That's why we do this. We have an uptrend, and we thought this was a good demand zone because we do have very strong bullish candles taking out what we call a previous high. However, this is previous high within a significant move down. So it wasn't really a previous maybe lower high that was being formed. So had we had something maybe like this, and then had that, then taking out this previous high would have been a good play. However, that's not the case. And because that's not the case, I'm actually not interested in this anymore. So remove that alert level, and I'm actually going to take this one out from the watch list. All right, that's an interesting analysis, I'd say. All right, you can see here good demand zone, RS. It is in the demand zone. The price is reaching for the 100 and 200 EMA. We want the price to consolidate somewhere here in this area before it departs and before we decide to enter. That's not the case just yet. Next one on the list is LEN, Leonard Corporation. So this one is a good one. I like this one for the following reason. It did try to go above and then drop below. Now it did came below here. There is really no consolidation. It did go above this high, but again, no consolidation here. So the only reason why this is attractive to me is because this move down actually took multiple, well, it took a significant lower low, I would say, and another one right over here. So it's almost like it took some liquidity and wanted to move above with a strong impulse, and you can see the candles are very, very strong. So there is a potential that for someone to trade this. I would need to think about it. Obviously, there are other setups that I just talked about that are of my interest. For the time being, this is probably one of those where I will continue to monitor, and maybe I'm not going to personally take it, but we can count it towards an entry for this strategy. So we'll mark it like this, and we can see it in the active trades later. FCNCA is a good one. This is kind of consolidating over here. No play just yet. We're going to wait for this consolidation and for a price to close above it. IoT, pretty close over here, similarly to the one we just looked at, LEN. There was a price that took some of this liquidity below and is reaching above. If we do see some sort of consolidation and taking out at least this previous peak and closing above it, that's something we can consider playing. CPAY, CPAY. Again, this is setting up, not there yet. If we do see consolidation and a move above it, we can perhaps enter. Let's go with J. J just reached the demand zone, but not ready. It may take a couple of weeks before we can consider entering a trade like this. TRU, this one is setting up. We do see a little bit of consolidation. Perhaps maybe towards the end of the week we'll see if there was a setup here after 5 candles are formed. Ryan, RYAN. This is a nice consolidation. It is in a decent area here. So if we do see the price actually goes above the 200 EMA, then this would be a good play. RGA, again, setting up somewhere over here. This is a pretty long consolidation region. Right now, it's, unless we have something like this, so that this becomes the consolidation, I would not be interested in participating. But let's see if the price maybe just spikes above it and takes out this previous high, then that could be a good play. But we're not there yet. CNA, next one on the list. So this one was setting up. It did have a nice consolidation over here. The price did end up closing above over here. So that to me is a pretty good entry point. Let's take a look at on the monthly time frame how good of a demand zone this is. You can see these candles are not the best, but the move is explosive after all, and it did take some significant previous highs. Even this one right here, where the price closed above it. This is actually something that I would be very much interested in taking a bet that it will go higher. TXRH, no good consolidation here yet. Maybe if something like this happens and the price closes above this previous high, I would consider entering, but not right now. PR did have a good consolidation here and the price departed, so for me this is already too late now. So the price had just moved way above it. I would put this in the long-term setup. It's just too late. CART, I like this one a lot, so I'm going to consider this as a major consolidation. Although this was a nice consolidation, but the price never really closed nicely above the 200 EMA. It's still kind of like ranging there. If we see the price closes above here, then that would be something awesome, and something I would really like to participate in. So this one will get marked, and it's most probably going to end up on the active trade list next weekend when we review. AR had a good consolidation with a good closure. That is a nice play, perhaps. Let's see. There was also taking out previous liquidity here with this candle and a pretty good strong move above. Now one could have considered saying that, you know, this was the consolidation I was interested in, and the price went above and closed above here, and you wouldn't have been wrong. That would have been a good entry, and this would already be in profit. So perhaps to be protective, we can just move the stop loss a little bit below, and of course that will require a little bit of a greater take profit opportunity. So definitely something I'm interested in, but let's confirm that on the monthly time frame that was a good demand zone. And the demand zone is, honestly, is just okay. Really nothing much here. To me, this is not something I'd like to participate in. So I'm going to make the decision to remove it from the watch list. It's just not a strong enough demand zone. This candle, like you can see this wicks here, then there was a bearish candle, and then yes, sure, there was another strong bullish candle that closed above. Not something I'm interested in. I'm going to skip this one. It's a little bit too confusing for me. ALSN, so that was a good demand zone. Let's take a look at how is setting up. Actually, this could be beautiful setup if it does something like this and closes above that consolidation. Urban Outfitters, see, huge gap here. So definitely not something I'm interested in taking. It was just something that was interesting to take a look at and to analyze. I would skip this one. On semiconductor is a setup that's perhaps forming. If there is some sort of consolidation and the price goes above it, maybe it's something I will consider participating in, because it was in a good demand zone here. This is pretty strong move, although these candles were not strong. The following two candles with the gap made it a worthwhile demand zone, to me at least. However, this would have been probably the play here, and then the price decided to drop below. There's a lot of liquidity below this line here, as you can see. And then this move took the liquidity out. Now if the price closes above the 200 EMA, that could be something that's interesting to look at. For the time being, we're just going to monitor it on this short-term setup section of the watch list. All right, well, that wraps it up for this week's analysis. As always, stay patient, stay disciplined, and stay focused on the data. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week on Quest for Alpha. Bye.